Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Another example of how government policies don't always have the intended effect because people don't follow them. I mean, perhaps the majority do, but then again, how many people who don't follow UK law are actually going to admit to that? Probably very few. And just before we get into this, you might be wondering where yesterday's video is. Well, it's my first community guidelines tried. So that's brilliant, and will mean, of course, that there'll be more effort put into BitChute. So do follow over there if you want to ensure that you don't miss a video that is removed from YouTube for being a bit too spicy. But it's safe to say that there's not long left on this this medium anymore. So yeah, if you don't want to keep up to date, then please do migrate over to BitChute. It doesn't take long to set up a channel, and I'm sure many of you already do have accounts set up there. So do follow along, link in description. And with that out of the way, let's jump in. So nearly 15% of COVID patients in England are not following self-isolation rules, official study finds. Yes, the Office for National Statistics, the ONS, said just 86% of infected patients stay home and had no visitors. And this is people who have actually gone out to get a test. So two things with this. One is how many people with symptoms actually decided to go get a test. I'm thinking not so many. And then how many people who actually then did receive their positive test, which would be a negative result if you catch my drift, will then actually follow the law in regards to it. Again, if it's 15% officially, then I would strongly suggest you can at least double it. And then consider how many people don't actually want to get tested because of the severe ramifications of doing such a thing. Then I wouldn't be surprised if it was above 50%. So people who think they have COVID, whether that be from a positive test or just symptoms, I would say aren't following the self-isolation rules. Now, this is from February, so it could be lower from before that and just getting higher since then as attrition tends to set in. But nonetheless, these are the latest figures they've got. So more than a fifth of those who flouted the rules said they had at least one visitor, but the most common excuse was leaving the house to go to shops, school or work, which includes quite a lot of things. Going to the shops, that's kind of a necessity if you've seen the queues on food delivery, and I'm sure you've looked into them, so you kind of need to go and get your food. Alright. Going to school, well, two reasons for that. One is because they also need to go to work, and therefore it's the easiest way to make sure the children are taken care of one way or another, that using school as daycare or childcare. But the other is maybe they actually value the education and wish for their children to receive an education. Whether or not that's actually useful is another topic entirely. So, moving on, they have actually got some charts as to what happened. But before we do get into it, just as a reminder that people who test positive for COVID or are close contact of someone who is infected are legally required to self-isolate for 10 days. The punishment of flouting the rules can be fined £1,000, rising to £10,000 for repeat offenders and the most egregious breaches, as they say, like protests, for example. But, on the other side, Britons on low incomes who cannot work from home receive a £500 lump sum if they're forced to self-isolate, in order to try and get them through half a month. So, just to get them up to, on average, then £1,000 a month, 12 grand a year, just to get them up to almost the lowest tax bracket. Great job there. That's a beautiful incentive. Except, of course, it's not. I mean, for two reasons. One is, who's at most risk from the coof? The older people. Who's more likely to have greater savings? The older people. I believe, last I checked, is that the wealthiest demographic are people in their early 60s, because they've kind of gotten to the end of their career and therefore have saved the most money without then starting to go through their savings, as happens when you go down the other side of the bell curve. So they're most at risk and can afford to self-isolate, but the people who are least at risk, like young people, are also the ones who cannot afford to take time off work. So almost as if they wasn't really very well thought through. So here are the reasons they provided for why they would leave home. You got shops, work, school, university, medical reasons other than getting or returning a COVID-19 test, any other reason, and for outdoor recreation or exercise, e.g. a run, a walk, or to sit in the park. And this isn't of the people who had a positive test, this is of those who admitted to flouting the rules. So, for example, the another reason at 20% is a fifth of a fifth, as it were. And also, 13% of people working prior to self-isolation, either in or outside the home, were not paid during the self-isolation period. So this is the percentage of respondents who were working prior to self-isolation by how they were paid during self-isolation. So quite a few just worked as normal, which makes the most sense, really. Regular pay for regular work. Cool. But a fifth of them got sick pay, and they received their full salary as sick pay, so good on them. 18% don't know, which surprises me. So aren't you a bit concerned about how much you're getting paid and how you're getting paid? No? Okay, lucky you, I suppose. And then more like 12% weren't paid at all, which is supposed to be illegal, but as always with these things, enforcing laws is always more difficult than making them. And that seems to be forgotten. For whatever reason, people seem to think, oh, well, if it's a national law, a state-sanctioned law, that's the same as a law of nature. And it's not. It's not. I mean, if that was the case, then crime wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't even need that word. And yet, somehow, this seems to go over their heads all the time. So who is actually going to adhere to the rules, to the laws? So probably the most well-behaved citizens, right. Are they the ones that you would have to be concerned about following the laws? No, because they've got the greatest sense of morality. So the people who are breaking the laws are the ones who have the weakest sense of morality. Right, okay. In that case, are they going to care about the effect they have on other people? No. So what are these laws actually going to do? Well, they're going to strip away the freedoms from law-abiding citizens and those with a better sense of morality and empower the ones who don't give a shit. So is that really what you want to achieve? Well, actions speak louder than words, so go for that. So in order to try and combat this, the government have decided, alright, cool, how about we give more funding? Of an extra £3.2 million per month has been allocated to free medicines delivery service, people who are self-isolating and don't have access to help in collecting their prescription, as well as a £13 million cash injection, which will tackle the practical challenges of being asked to self-isolate. And of the practical challenges, they have got a statistic here with regards to more than 1 in 3 adults found self-isolating had a negative effect on their well-being and mental health, but 58% claimed that they had no effect reported. But when we've seen in months gone by that there's a greater rate of suicide than there is fatality from the coof, to me it really begs the question of how serious these things are. And for people who did have to self-isolate then, what is their social network like, and who is it that they're living with? Because, of course, that could have a huge difference. And so the people who are worst affected are the people who are living alone and on their own, which is exactly the same message, of course, or narrative, being pushed by the powers that be in order to say you don't really need anyone, you don't need any relationships, and instead you should just work and have your job as the only thing that matters, which is doing everybody a great disservice to try and suggest that money is all that matters, or that material wealth is more important than spiritual wealth and having a happier family. And I would contend that you're going to have far more meaning from a happy relationship and good family life than a promotion at work. But maybe I'm old-fashioned in that regard, that my meaning in life means more from those I care about instead of those I work with. But maybe you guys are different. Let me know down below. Do you care more about the opinions of those you care about or those you work with? But that's about it for me. So let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think these statistics are actually accurate? Based on, one, that these are people who reported having a positive COVID test, so they actually went there in the first place. And the second, they are answering to the government, aware that there is a £1,000 fine for what they're admitting to have done. Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, as always, until next time, have a good one.